Now we move on to Marbury versus Madison, which is arguably, and another political science professor would tell you different, I'm sure, which is arguably one of the most, if not the most important Supreme Court case ever, because it creates the concept of judicial review. And if you don't think I'm going to ask you about judicial review on the final, you're out of your minds. Does anybody know, just right off the bat, what judicial review is? No? Okay. Well, we'll go through that. I'm just kind of introing, giving people time to catch up on their notes, just vamping a little bit, but we're going to get started right now. So as we know, the court can have a great deal of power, but it cannot exercise that power unless a suit is brought before it. And the Supreme Court also deals with some of the hottest issues confronting society. Now, this isn't the majority of what they do, even. You know, they're not up there twiddling their thumbs and contemplating their navels by any means. Your belly button, if another word for it, that's a navel. But most of what they're deciding are copyright cases, are patent infringement cases, just kind of boring stuff. This maybe represents about 2 to 5% of what they might do in a year. So they have to apply the Constitution to subjects and disputes that the founders could never have imagined, such as abortion, flag burning, gay rights, things like that. Controversial topics. That is not. It's not a majority of what they do. This is just what we hear about them doing because it makes for a great 30-second soundbite on the evening news. That's about it. Again, most of it's patent infringement, et cetera, just very boring technical cases. So we've talked about this, and this is an issue we've considered all semester long. So the founders never envisioned a semi-automatic pistol burning a flag. They had just won at very great cost their independence and their right to have an independent country. You know, should the court treat the Constitution as a living document, or should the court try to interpret the Constitution according to the times that they live in and find themselves in? Now, I know your answers to this question. Has anybody changed their mind throughout the semester? You don't think so? No, we don't need to go through it again. But original intent is interpreting the Constitution. I didn't do it. I'm sitting right here. Original intent is when you try to interpret the Constitution based on what you think the founders meant. Should the court yield to the majority in the legislature? Possibly. Has anybody heard of an activist judge? The term, yeah. It was brought up a lot in the future, because Breyer doesn't retire until June, the future Justice Jackson's confirmation hearings. The Republicans were afraid she was going to legislate from the bench. meaning interpret laws in such a way that interpret laws in such a way that would make them legal and make them agree with what the Constitution says. Yeah. That's not supposed to be what a judge does. A judge, this is a point of disagreement, and you can argue this 50 different ways. This was done when Obamacare was passed. This is just my opinion on the matter. Don't be offended, anybody. But Roberts and Ginsburg and the whole court at the time, or a majority of the court, tried to make that law legal. Ask some questions.
I don't even know what to ask.
You don't even know what to ask?
I don't know.
Okay. So why this is bad, Vanessa, is because the role of the judiciary is to interpret the law as written, not to create new law, not to fix a law,
Just figure out what the law says.
but look at the law that is put in front of them, if indeed there is a law at question in their case, and just based upon the black and white on the page, this is what the law says. Does this go against the Constitution, or is it in favor and in line with what the Constitution says? That's it. That's the only thing they're supposed to do.
And what were they doing that wasn't
Activist judges tend to try to fix laws from the bench to make them legal.
okay?
This portion of the law, is this making sense to everybody else, or am I just up here speaking Greek?
Don't take my word for it because I didn't understand anything, so.
Yeah. Cadence?
What do you mean by fix the law?
Try to rewrite portions of it, or not judge parts of it.
To fit that situation.
Say that again, Daniel.
So going off what they can translate from the Constitution, and then from there just kind of have to make a decision on our own?
Yes. Yes.
Because, it makes sense. Because, thinking about it, when the Constitution was written versus now, obviously, things have changed. Things that exist now did not really exist back then. So going off of what they have in front of them, they kind of have to find a way to display it.
Yes. I guess another way to put it, an activist judge makes the law say what she wants, makes the Constitution say what she wants it to say to make said law legal.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Are we following that bit? Okay. I'm glad I got through.
It's like, for me, you have to speak like government for dummies. So just like simplify the sentences.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one of the characters in the story we're about to hear. This is William Marbury. The Supreme Court serves as a very important function in the system of checks and balances. They can overturn unconstitutional laws passed by Congress and signed by the president. This is a big component of judicial review that I was talking about a moment ago. Or laws enacted by the states. It can stop the president from acting unconstitutionally. Yes.
Sorry to be a little random, but I was watching, have you ever seen the movie Loving? Like, do you remember that court case for like interracial marriage that was like taken up to the Supreme Court?
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of like an example as to what we were talking about a little bit ago about like, where does that exactly fall under the Constitution? If there's no like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, strictly Loving versus Virginia was a court case in which a state, I can't remember which one right off the top of my head, declared it illegal for a black woman.
Yeah.
It was a black woman to be married to a white man. And this was America, this was our country in the 1960s that this was going on. That worked its way up to the Supreme Court. They issued an opinion in favor of Loving and against the state of Virginia, where they resided. Marriage, or so thought the founders, was supposed to be strictly a religious affair with, the government just butting out of it entirely, which is, so that's what they found in Loving versus Virginia. That wouldn't be an example of an activist
Well, no, I'm
judge.
just saying kind of like what's in the Constitution. versus-
Oh, yeah, because there's absolutely nothing to find in the Constitution about marriage.
Right.
Nothing there at all. So the law enacted by the state of Virginia in the 60s ran contrary, was unconstitutional because there's nothing there. Yeah. Good question. Great case.
I was just thinking about it because like I was watching the movie like a week or two ago, and then now they're talking about it in the Supreme Court case. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. So the court is the last line of defense against the federal or state governments usurping powers that they are not permitted either because the Constitution does not allow it, the Bill of Rights prohibits it, or natural law prevents it. Now, why do we listen to the Supreme Court? If they hand down a decision, why should I abide by it?
They are those supreme constitutional authority, and they're supposed to be apolitical and not have biases on parties.
So what? Who's going to make me live by that decision?
RBG will come back to haunt me.
Huh?
I think RBG will come back to haunt me.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg will come back to haunt me? Why do we respect the court as an institution? We should. We definitely should.
It protects our rights.
Yeah, definitely. It protects our rights. The court looks after us in that way, certainly. We all have to respect it as an equal branch of government. As a co-equal branch, excuse me.
how many cases make it up to the Supreme Court? Like, what?
Probably, it just depends on the year and what's going on. I probably less than 100 in any given term.
So like how like, I guess like what makes a case that severe to the point where it gets to the Supreme Court? Like what are some instances? Like I know like Loving was one of them, but like what would be other examples to get it up to that level? Opposed to regular.
That's a great question. And that is up to a majority of justices at that time to decide what makes a case worthy of the Supreme Court.
So are they the ones who choose them?
They choose what they hear. They choose everything that they hear. I couldn't even speculate. There could be a particular, but I will speculate right now. There could be there could be a particular death penalty case that's causing a lot of ruckus in some state that, the state might say, okay, we need a decision on this in order to keep order on our streets. There might be, I know flag burning, as we mentioned, was a big one a while ago.
So basically, more cases that cause more of a, I guess, a national uproar.
Those tend to get picked. Yeah, those tend to get picked. Yeah.